So hopefully everybody can see this. And what I'd like to do is keep this fairly short and leave plenty of time for discussion and questions and answers. And I don't know all the answers, but I know some of them. And if you have questions during the talk, please feel free to ask. Okay, so as far as getting your textbook published, uh, there's several things to consider before you start doing this. And should you write your book in LaTeX, HTML, Word, or something else? Now, I know people who have written mathematics textbooks in Word. I would not try and do that, and I don't think that's a good idea. Most of us probably would use LaTeX. HTML is a little bit demanding, and there are other options. And the second question is, should I make my textbook open source? And we'll talk about that in a minute. And what about this thing called copyright? Should I make a web page for my textbook? Should I make an HTML version, a print version, or both? And suppose I'm going to get paid for my efforts. How do I do that? Okay. And if I do make a print version, what sort of inventory do I need to keep in my garage? Okay. And so if you've written your textbook in Microsoft Word, what do? Well, probably that's not a good idea. I would probably rewrite it in something else. Most of us probably would write in LaTeX. That's the way we write in mathematics. And if I'm writing a paper or something like that, for many years, this is the standard. If I want a print version and an HTML version of my textbook, what do I do then? Okay. And suppose my university and states are saying more and more about this. If you write a textbook, it has to be accessible. And accessible means it has to have screen be able to use, students must be able to use a screen reader. It has to have alt text for any of the images. There's a whole bunch of things. And every once in a while you talk to somebody, I've got a blind student and I need a Braille version of my textbook. What do I do? Okay. And I don't know if any of you have ever run into that, but it does happen. And maybe you have or have not heard about pretext. It's an authoring language that sort of addresses all of these issues. Okay, is this something that you should look into? So pretext is a set of XML tags, and it's structured in a manner that's very similar to LaTeX. Okay, you write your document in pretext. You have to follow a certain set of rules. Okay, and then you process that, and from the same source, you can get print, HTML, PDF, EPUB, and even Braille. The Braille does not come out perfectly, but talking to people who have had Braille, a necessary requirement to get Braille into a textbook, it costs a library about $50,000 to do this. Okay, with pretext, it cuts the cost down to several thousand. And books in pretext can be created and hosted on Runestone Academy, okay, which is a textbook hosting platform that's anybody can use, and that's quite an advantage. So I'm not going to say much about pretext, but okay, you can check out the showcase, okay, and the sample articles. So the sample article itself, okay, is really not a sample article. It's sort of the kitchen sink for everything that needs to be tested, okay, and works in pretext has been put into the sample article. There's a pretext catalog that has about 80 projects on it the last time I looked. Okay, and it's now the authoring language for Runestone. Has anybody heard of Runestone? It started as a computer science platform hosting computer science books. Okay, and it's pretty nifty, and it's something that you can look into. Each student gets a copy of the textbook that they log into, and you can trace student participation or how students use the textbook. Okay, and it's pretty nifty. Okay, so a pretext example would look something like this. Okay, and this would just be a book, and it would have a title, and then you have tags like angle brackets P. That would be for a paragraph, and so on. The mathematics looks very, very much like LaTeX. So you don't have to learn anything new for LaTeX. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about pretext. Okay. So what about copyright? So copyright says that you have written something, you tag it and say it's copyrighted. You're the copyright owner. It's good for 50 or 100 years after your death. Okay, it can be a song or a paragraph or a poem. You can, but you do not have to register your copyright with the government. Okay, if you do register it, it costs. But if you don't register it, it's still copyrighted. Okay, so anything that you write, make sure you put that it's copyrighted by such and such and put the date, the year on it. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is open source and open access. There's a difference. Open access means that you can read it for free. Okay, and it's open to all. You don't have to worry about it. Open source is a little bit more. Okay, it's free to use, and authors can modify it. Okay, depending on the license. Okay, and as long as they make it accessible and available to others. So the two most common open source licenses are GNU Free Document License or the Creative Commons license. Okay, and if you publish either the GNU Free under the GNU Free Document License or the Creative Commons license, and you decide to self-publish and you go to somebody who prints your textbook, that still means that you can print it and sell it for a profit. Okay, anybody else could, but usually, in my experience, they don't go through the hassle. So the nice thing about open source is availability. Every student has a textbook on the first day of class, and with commercially published textbooks, we all know that that's not the case. They have to wait for student aid and so on. Okay, you can get interactive versions. They're easy to maintain. Okay, they're available on the internet. You can put them out in different formats. Okay, and you can read them in different formats. Okay, paper, desktop, laptop, tablet. Okay, my students will always try and read a book on their iPhone. It doesn't work for mathematics, but they still think it works. Okay, and when they would come to my office, they would pull out their phone and say, see, no, we're going to use my big screen here. Okay, pull up a chair. And commercial publishers can really have a difficult time duplicating open source textbook access. Okay, so the GNU Free Document License, okay, is one possible license. Okay, and it basically says that all previous authors must be attributed. Okay, any changes in the work has to be logged. Okay, and you can't use technical measures such as DRM to control or obstruct distribution and so on. Creative Commons license is a little bit different. Okay, and some people use one, some people use the other. For Creative Commons license, they can be various versions. Okay, the most common are Creative Commons by SA, or that's so by share alike. That is, they have to say who it was by and they can share it. Okay, and they can also do by share alike and non-commercial, which means that you can't publish it commercially. David Farmer, who is at the American Institute of Mathematics, says, forget about the non-commercial, just go ahead, and he recommends buy and share alike. And usually when David Farmer says something, I listen very carefully because he usually knows what's going on. Okay. So if you publish online, okay, you can do things like put sage cells in there, open source mathematics, video, audio. MathJax is the method of typesetting HTML on the web. GeoGebra works in there. WebWork, which is a homework system, works in there. You can put things like reading questions and so on, and there's no end to this. If you host it on a platform such as Runestone, each student has an account and they have their own copy of the book, and you can actually look and see any answers they have written to these questions and grade them right in the book, and they can answer questions right in the book. Okay. The other advantage of open source is you can fix errors on the fly. It's really easy, and students are the best copy editors in the world, especially if you put a bounty on an error. Okay. I started out at $5 and I ended up at $20. And I used to cap the bank at about $100. And I think one semester I did pay out $100. But and again, open source textbooks written in pretext are accessible. So you don't have to worry about, oh, my state says this textbook needs to be accessible or we can't adopt it. If you write it in pretext, it's automatically going to, and you post it on the web, it's automatically going to be accessible. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, so now we get down, I want to be paid for my efforts. Okay, so it's really easy to self-publish and even make a small profit on any textbooks. You don't want to store an inventory in your garage. Okay, for many reasons, you're responsible for shipping. If you have a flood and everything gets wet, there goes your inventory. Okay, it's better to have print on demand and have someplace like Amazon or Barnes and Noble ship the books out, and that way you don't have to worry about it. They just will take care of everything, including getting ISBN numbers, which you have to publish. Okay, and they will send you a check. Okay, so they take care of distribution. A lot of times they will mark up your book. So you want to make a $5 profit on your book, and they'll mark it up to $50, and then they'll discount it, okay, down to 35 or 25. I have an abstract algebra book that sells for less than $25, and the person who publishes it still makes a small profit on it. Okay. Lulu is another one. Okay. I've heard that 619 Reef is another one. And the one person who I know about that has been very happy with that. Ingram Spark is another place that you can get done. Okay. And web hosting. Okay. So suppose that you want to host a copy on the web. Okay. Well, you can either put it up there for free. Okay. You can make a homepage. You can do something with WordPress to make the web page and Namecheap to buy a domain. You can even host a book on GitHub Okay, I would suggest doing, for the cost, doing a home page, and I would say don't do it on your university page because things change. Okay, pay for a domain name. They're not that expensive, and just go ahead and host it that way. Uh, if you want to host it behind a paywall and make money on it, okay, you might try something like Amazon or Squarespace. I know of only one person who built their own Runestone server, hosts it on their copy of the Runestone server, collects $25 from anybody who wants to do it. That is a permanent license for access to the book. And I can't imagine, and this person is a computer scientist and loves to do things like this. I can't imagine doing something like that myself. Uh, so what I would do, and certainly I recommend, is I would put the book up on a web page. Okay, that would attract traffic. And if I wanted to make money on it, and this is what a lot of people do, then I would make printed copies available on, say, uh, Lulu or Amazon and make a profit that way. Uh, you'll get more traffic. Okay, people will find out about the book. People will look at it, uh, and the idea is many years ago, tenure and promotion committees didn't really give credit for open source publishing. Okay, but if your book comes up on the first page of a Google search, that's pretty hard to deny that you've done something that's a scholarly work. Okay, so that's where I'm going to sort of end it. I know we're got at least 10 minutes left. Okay, but I wanted to open for questions and discussion. Emma.
Hi, I have a question. So if the book is an open source, we can ask Amazon to do print on demand, and
Yes.
we get paid for, I mean, if they sell it as they sell it, or
They will charge a certain amount for the book. You can work with them to figure out what it's charged. They sell it and you get money back, so you make a profit.
okay.
So publishing is different than authoring.
Okay, thank you.
And just to give you an example of my abstract algebra book, I also have a DE book that's open source, but my abstract algebra book was open source. Somebody from Virginia Commonwealth University had an open source publishing company, went ahead and published it, a print version, without my knowledge, okay, sold it on Amazon, but that's perfectly fine under the license. And we've been working with that person ever since. Okay. Also, somebody took the book and without my knowledge, okay, until afterwards, has translated it into Spanish. Okay, so this is what can be done with open source.
I see. Yeah, that's something. So is the copyright important? Like, I mean, if we make an open source or open access, and there is no copyright, because that's what I did.
Just on your source code, write copyright, the date, and your name. And then it's copyrighted.
So I don't have to go to a company?
Nope. Not as of about 20, 25 years ago when they changed the copyright law. All you have to do is say it's copyrighted and the date and your name.
So that would be the date when it was published, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
okay. And you just need to put the year.
Okay. Thank you.
It's much easier than it used to be.
Okay. Yeah. This is helpful.
Yeah.
So with the open source, you say we can modify it, right? Versus the open access.
Well, if you're the author, you can do anything you want with it. If it's open source, somebody else can take it and modify it.
Okay. Okay, I see that. Okay.
Do you
So-
have any? Do you have any suggestions on? So I've written 2 books, and one of them is for a student active course. But the idea, how do you get you publicize your books? How do you get people to know about them?
I don't know. It just sort of happened for me. What other people have done is you can get it approved by the American Institute of Mathematics textbook initiative. They will review and approve a book, but it has to be used at least by 2 other people besides yourself. You can do Facebook pages, get people to mention it. My abstract algebra book just sort of happened and just shot to the top of the chart. The ODE book has done okay too. People have found out about it, and once people find out about it and tell other people, it just seems to take on a life of its own. People are looking for good quality free books.
So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about like the nuts and bolts of using pretext. I'm not thinking of writing a book, but I've got like a set of course materials I'd like to make available to people. And I don't know, like, I don't know, I'm not super tech savvy. So is this like entirely on the web? Is it like, like when you use LaTeX and you download like TechMaker or something like that, or
So using pretext has become a lot more friendly in the last couple of years. They have something called a command line interface. And if you go to the pretext webpage, that's a good place to get started. And also there are help sessions, okay, online, informal Zoom sessions that you can come anytime you want during those sessions and stay as long as you want. And you can ask questions and somebody will be there who's knowledgeable to get you started. And once you get the book started, okay, and you just start writing, okay. If you've got a LaTeX copy, David Farmer, who I've mentioned before, is at American Institute of Mathematics, has a script that will do 95% of the work of taking LaTeX and turning it into pretext. Okay, but once you get going, you just write.
thanks.
And those help sessions, they're online, they're usually small, they're very friendly, and somebody will be there to get you started. And I think somebody just put up a link in chat to the Pros Runestone Academy, which would have list all of the help sessions.
I think that's one of the sessions I've been to when I talked to you, Tom.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Yeah, because I have to think about, because I'm gonna go, I mean, I already put it up there because I was in a hurry to get it out, because I already printed it. I printed my book, my lecture book for my students. So I wanted to get some sort of ownership. So I had to put it up there. But I'm gonna come up with the second version, second edition, and you know, edited and improved. And so what do I have to do if I want to go with runestone? Do I go to one of?
To go to Runestone, get it hosted on Runestone. I would go to the Tuesday session of that help session. Brad Miller is in charge of Runestone, and he can be quite helpful. It has to be written in pretext. Okay. And you know, once you get it hosted on GitHub, he just pulls it every week and rebuilds it every week. So the latest edition is always up there.
Yeah, first I have to translate it from LaTeX.
Talk to David Farmer. He's usually at one of these sessions. He's a good person to talk to about getting it translated into pretext.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I think it's already 2 minutes past time. So thank you, everybody. I think we have a break until 7:30. So enjoy your break and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.